There are some moments that catch you off guard, not because they're dramatic or explosive, but because they feel a little too good to be real. That's what happened the night Leo held me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started as a regular Friday. I'd just finished a long, hellish week at work and was halfway through my second load of laundry when Leo texted me, "Bro, come out. Gavin's party. Don't be lame." I almost said no. I was in gym shorts, watching reruns, with no real intention of changing that. But Leo was persistent. He always had been. We'd been best friends since sophomore year of college, and even though life had pulled us in slightly different directions since graduation, me working full-time, him bouncing between freelance gigs and creative side projects, he was still the one person who could guilt-trip me into anything. So I went. Gavin's apartment was already packed when I got there. Music too loud, lights too low, bodies moving in that half-dance, half-wobble way that people do when they're buzzed but trying to stay upright. I spotted Leo immediately. Black tee, backwards cap, grinning like he'd invented alcohol. "Hey, you made it," he slurred, throwing his arm around me like we were in a movie. "You're drunk already?" I asked, amused. "Hydrated," he corrected, holding up a nearly empty cup. "With tequila." I laughed and stayed for a few hours. We played Pong, danced badly, and yelled over music about absolutely nothing. It was easy with Leo. It always had been. He had this way of making everything feel like college again, before jobs, rent, or late-night anxiety spirals. By midnight, though, I was done. Leo, on the other hand, was not. "I'm good," he insisted as he stumbled against the doorframe. "Just need—" "Wait, hold on. Nope. Okay, yeah, I can't go home." He blinked at me, all wide-eyed and loose-limbed. "Can I stay at your place tonight?" "Obviously," I said. "Come on. Let's get you out of here before you try to dance on the coffee table again." We made it back to my place with minimal chaos, minus Leo nearly falling asleep in the Uber. He was all giggles and mumbled nonsense as I helped him kick off his shoes and drink a glass of water. I tossed him a pair of sweatpants. He'd left them here months ago and pointed toward the couch. But then he paused in the hallway, leaning against the wall like gravity had suddenly become optional. "Actually," he said, eyes half-lidded, "can I crash in your bed?" "Just like old times. It's warmer." I hesitated for a second, not because I minded, but because it had been a while since we'd shared a bed. Not since that road trip 2 years ago, when the Airbnb only had one mattress and we were too broke to care. Still, I shrugged it off. "Yeah, man, sure." He crawled under the covers without a second thought, already fading fast. I turned off the light, slid in beside him, and faced the opposite way. I figured he'd be out in seconds. And he was. But about 20 minutes later, when I was just starting to drift off, I felt it. His arm, draping across my waist. Not clumsy. Not by accident. Just there. Heavy. Intentional. And I froze. I didn't move. I told myself not to overthink it, that he was drunk, half asleep, probably dreaming about some girl he'd been flirting with at the party, that this wasn't what it felt like. But the weight of his arm, the soft press of his chest against my back, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like something else. My heart was pounding, but I tried to stay still. If he realized what he was doing, he'd probably laugh it off or apologize in the morning and chalk it up to tequila and muscle memory, and maybe that's all it was. But the way he shifted closer, pulling me in just slightly tighter like he needed something to hold on to, that didn't feel like a guy who'd lost his balance in the dark. It felt like Leo, and maybe that's what messed me up most. Because I knew how Leo touched people. His hugs were always loose, friendly, barely there. He didn't cling. He didn't hold. But this? He was holding me. For a minute, I tried to remind myself of all the reasons this didn't mean anything. He was straight, or at least he'd always dated girls. I'd never told him how I felt, not even when it started bubbling up somewhere around senior year. I kept it buried. Kept it safe. He was my best friend, and I didn't want to mess that up. But in the dark, with his breath steady against my neck and his fingers brushing lightly against my stomach, it was hard not to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he felt it too. Then I felt his hand move. Not much, just the smallest shift, like he was adjusting in his sleep. But instead of letting go, His palm flattened against my skin where my shirt had ridden up. Warm, steady. I exhaled, too loudly. His breathing hitched. I held my breath again. Then I heard it. Barely a whisper. "You awake?" My mouth went dry. I didn't answer at first. I didn't know how, but after a second I nodded, just once. Leo didn't say anything for a moment. Then, softly, "Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just didn't want to be alone." His voice cracked a little. And in that second, something shifted in me. This wasn't about anything physical, or flirting, or even teasing. This was something else. Something quiet. Vulnerable. "You're not," I whispered back. Another long pause. Then, a breath, shaky and honest. "Feels good like this," he said. "Like, better than I thought it would." I turned slightly, just enough to glance over my shoulder. In the soft light spilling through the window, I could make out the edge of his face. His eyes weren't closed anymore. He was watching me. "Leo," I said, my voice quieter than I expected. "What are you doing?" "I don't know," he admitted. "I just didn't want to go home, and now I'm here, and I don't want to let go." And he didn't. I didn't answer him right away. Not because I didn't have anything to say. On the contrary, 1,000 things were clawing their way up my throat. But none of them felt safe enough to say out loud. Leo, in my bed, holding me like that, saying things like, "I don't want to let go." That wasn't something you just moved past. I slowly turned to face him. His arm, still draped over me, moved as I shifted, but didn't let go. We were close enough now that I could see the flicker of hesitation in his expression. He looked half terrified, half hopeful, like a guy who'd stepped out over the edge of a cliff and was waiting to find out if he could fly or if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. "I don't know what this is," he said quietly, "but I didn't want to be anywhere else tonight. That's got to mean something, right?" He was drunk. I knew that. But drunk people don't make things up out of nowhere. They spill things they've been holding back. I'd seen Leo flirt with girls, seen him lock lips with strangers at parties, seen him fall for the wrong ones and laugh it off later. But I'd never seen him like this. Soft, unsure, staring at me like he was waiting for permission to feel something bigger than what he knew how to name. "It does," I said finally, surprising even myself with how calm my voice came out. "It means something." His fingers curled slightly on my side, just a tiny motion, like a thank you. "I don't get it," he murmured. "I mean, you're my best friend. That should make this weirder. But it doesn't. It feels easier, with you." I swallowed hard, because he was voicing things I'd spent years trying to not feel. "I used to think it was just comfort," I said, my voice low. "Like, we've known each other forever, so of course we're close. But sometimes I wondered if it was more, and then I'd shut it down, because I didn't think you'd ever." I trailed off. He nodded slowly, like he knew exactly where that sentence was going. "I didn't think I would either," he admitted. "But something's been off. For a while now. Every time we hang out, I feel like I don't want it to end. Like I don't want to go home unless you're there too." I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. I just leaned into him, resting my forehead against his chest. I could feel his heart pounding beneath my skin, fast and real. He wrapped both arms around me then, more firmly this time, not drunk fumbling, not accidental, intentional, and safe. "Is this okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, it's more than okay." We stayed like that for a long time. No kisses, no rush, just the kind of quiet closeness that felt heavier than anything I'd felt in a long time. There was warmth in it. And honesty. He held me like he meant it, like maybe he always had. I don't remember falling asleep. One moment we were tangled up in quiet confessions, his arm around me, his voice in my ear. The next, sunlight was peeking through the blinds, casting soft stripes across the sheets, and he was still there. Leo, still wrapped around me, breathing slow and even, his hand resting against my side like it belonged there. For a minute, I didn't move. I just let it be. Because part of me thought maybe it wouldn't survive the morning. That this soft version of him, uncertain, open, only existed in the haze of alcohol and late-night honesty. That once he sobered up, he'd laugh it off or pretend it didn't happen. But then his arm shifted slightly. Not away, just closer. A sleepy sigh escaped his lips, and I felt him press his face into the back of my neck, like he was trying to block out the morning. He was awake. "Morning," I said quietly. He mumbled, his voice low and raspy. "Still here? You are." He didn't move. Didn't pull away, just murmured, "Good." That one word nearly undid me. I rolled over slowly to face him. His hair was a mess, eyes barely open. He looked like someone caught in a dream he hadn't quite left yet. "You remember last night?" I asked, trying not to let my voice give too much away. He blinked a few times, brow furrowing just a little. Then he nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I remember." He didn't look embarrassed or confused. If anything, he looked relieved. I thought maybe it was just the tequila talking, I admitted. Leo shook his head, his fingers brushing against my side absently. "No, I mean, yeah, I was drunk, but that didn't make it up. I've been trying to figure this out for a while. Just didn't know how to say it." I searched his face, waiting for the part where he'd backtrack, throw a joke in, call it weird but chill, like he always did when things got serious. But he didn't. "I don't want to mess this up," he said, "but last night felt right." My chest tightened. "I don't think you messed anything up," I said. "Unless you count stealing all my blanket." That got a soft laugh out of him, and something about it made my throat ache, because it wasn't just a joke. It was us, falling back into rhythm even while the ground underneath us was shifting. He reached up and pushed a piece of my hair back from my forehead. His hand lingered there for a second. "You always look like this in the morning?" he asked. "Like what?" "Like someone I want to wake up next to." I didn't know how to respond to that, because no one had ever said something like that to me. Not like this. Not with sleep still in their eyes and last night's honesty still on their lips. So I leaned in. Not for a kiss, just to rest my forehead against his. And he didn't move away. We didn't leave bed for a while. There wasn't really a reason to. The sunlight was soft, the air still cool, and for the first time in a long time, neither of us felt the urge to fill the silence. We just laid there, our foreheads resting together, breath sinking like some quiet rhythm we hadn't realized we knew. Eventually I pulled back just enough to look at him. "So what now?" Leo's eyes flicked over my face, like he was still trying to figure out if I was real. "I don't know. I didn't really plan for a next step," I laughed gently. "No contingency plan?" I was too busy trying to convince myself I didn't feel what I felt. He said it so plainly. No hesitation, no dodge. I nodded. "Me too." We laid there a bit longer before he sat up, running a hand through his hair and grimacing slightly. "God, my head is pounding." I smirked. "That's what you get for chasing tequila with pineapple cider." Don't judge me. I was going through something. Clearly. He groaned as he swung his legs over the side of the bed. "All right, I need water, greasy food, and a reason not to panic about all this." "Are you panicking?" I asked. He turned to look at me, one eyebrow raised, half grinning. "A little, but mostly because it feels too easy. Like I'm waiting for something to go wrong." I nodded slowly. "I get that. Because yeah, it did feel weirdly easy. And that was what made it feel real. There was no awkwardness, no fumbling to explain or justify anything. Just quiet understanding, and the kind of closeness that didn't need to be dressed up as anything else." He got up and wandered into the kitchen while I changed into sweats. When I joined him, he was leaning against the counter with a glass of water and a Pop-Tart in one hand, like it was gourmet brunch. "You want real food, or are you committing to that?" He glanced at the pastry, then back at me. "I've made my bed. Now I must eat it." I snorted and reached for the coffee. The air between us wasn't awkward. It felt lighter, if anything, like a pressure valve had finally released. But there was still that question hanging in the room neither of us wanted to say out loud. Was this just a one-night moment? Or the start of something we hadn't let ourselves want? He sat down at the table, cradling his forehead in one hand. "You know, this is probably going to mess with my head for a while." I sat across from him. Mine too. But I don't regret it, he said, looking up. Neither do I. Another beat passed before he asked, what happens if I want to do it again? Sleep over? I asked, playing dumb. He smirked. Hold you. Wake up like that. I looked at him for a second, letting the weight of that land between us. Then maybe, I said, you should come over next Friday. Bring tacos, and stay again. His grin spread slowly. With tequila? Maybe just one. He reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. Okay, it's a date. The week crawled. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was him. Sometimes it was. A dumb meme. A quick "you alive" after a long work day. No grand declarations, no "so" about what happened. Just him, like always, but with a little more behind it. It wasn't awkward. That surprised me most. It was like we'd stumbled into something that had been waiting for us the whole time, like the parts of us that always clicked finally admitted they were more than just friendship. By Friday, I was more nervous than I wanted to admit. I cleaned my apartment, restocked the fridge, even made sure my sheets were clean. Not that I was assuming anything. I just wanted it to feel good, safe, intentional. At 7:18 p.m., he texted, outside. Got tacos. Didn't bring tequila. You're welcome. I opened the door to see him holding a takeout bag in one hand and a six-pack of root beer in the other. Going soft on me? I teased. He grinned. I figured, if I'm going to remember every second of tonight, I might as well do it sober. That sentence did something to my chest. Dinner was easy. We sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through Netflix and talking over each other like always. Except this time there was something softer under it all, more deliberate. His foot nudged mine a little longer than necessary. His eyes lingered when I wasn't looking, and every time our hands brushed, it felt charged. Eventually, we made our way to the couch. A dumb action movie played in the background, mostly ignored. He leaned into me slowly, like he was waiting for a sign. I didn't stop him. He rested his head against my shoulder, and for a long time, neither of us spoke. Then, quietly, I kept thinking this would feel weird. And it doesn't. Feels like I was supposed to end up here. I turned, meeting his eyes. Leo! He reached up, fingers brushing my jaw. You can tell me if this is too much. It's not, I said. It's not too much. He kissed me. Not urgently, not messy or rushed. Just a quiet, certain kiss that felt like the answer to a question we'd both been too scared to ask. When we pulled apart, he exhaled, slowly. I've wanted to do that for a long time, I laughed, a little stunned. You're terrible at showing it. I know, he said, his forehead resting against mine. I didn't think I was allowed to feel this way. Well, I whispered, you are. He kissed me again, and that night, when we crawled into bed, this time on purpose, this time with intention, he didn't just hold me like he had before. He held me like I was his, and I let him. Waking up next to him the second time felt different. Not like the morning after a party, where everything's hazy and you're piecing together the night before. This time, I remembered everything. Every look, every touch, every word we didn't rush to say. Leo was still asleep, breathing slow, one arm snug around my waist. His face was buried in the pillow, his hair a mess, mouth slightly open in that dumb, peaceful way that made him look like a kid again. And yeah, he snored. Just a little. But I didn't want to move. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried about what this meant or where it was going or how it might get complicated. It just was. Simple. Steady. Real. He stirred after a while, eyes squinting at the sunlight slipping through the blinds. MMMPH, he groaned. Why is it so bright? Because it's morning, I said, brushing hair from his forehead. Gross. I laughed and leaned in, kissing him lightly before he could whine more. That shut him up. He smiled into it, eyes still closed. This is nice, he murmured. Being here. With you. Yeah, I said softly. It is. He shifted closer, our legs tangling beneath the sheets. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. I've never been with a guy before. You're doing fine so far. He opened one eye. Seriously, though, what does this mean for us? I thought about it. We don't have to label anything, I said. Not yet. Or ever. We just do what feels right. One day at a time. He nodded slowly, pressing his forehead to mine. Okay. One day at a time. And we did. Over the next few weeks, everything changed, and somehow stayed exactly the same. We still made dumb jokes. Still fought over what to order. Still argued about movie plots. But now there were touches between us that lingered. Kisses stolen in hallways. Quiet nights where he stayed without needing an excuse. We weren't rushing it, but we were real. And that first night, when he was too drunk to go home and ended up wrapped around me like he was scared to let go, that wasn't just a turning point. It was the beginning of us.